Good morning. I'd like to call to order the Charter Review Committee meeting for Thursday, October the 12th, 2023. Tammy, can you do roll call for us, please?
Ms. Ward?
Here.
Ms. Jenkins?
Here.
Mr. Schmagelski?
Here.
Mr. Elzey?
Here.
Mr. Cox?
Here.
Ms. Logan is absent today.
Has everybody had a moment to review the minutes from the last meeting?
Yes.
Are there any changes or additions? Can I get a motion to have them approved, please?
I move to approve. Second.
Thank you. Okay, any old business from the last that we talked about? Anything? Oh, yes. Tammy, call the roll for the approval of the minutes, please.
Ms. Ward?
Yes.
Ms. Jenkins?
Yes.
Mr. Schmagelski?
Yes.
Mr. Elzey?
Yes.
Mr. Cox?
Yes.
All right, any old business from last month's meeting that we need, or any time in the past, of anything that we want to go over again or review or talk about? All right, moving on now. New business. I am working on the revisions. I have Tim Linderman's copy of the charter, and I am still working on getting it all finished and reviewed. And what I will do at that point is make a copy without all the markups for us, and I'll provide a markup copy and a non-markup copy to Tammy so she can email it to you guys and you can review it before the next meeting. But
That's a big job.
yeah, in addition to some of the other things I have had going on, so I got it close, but I didn't get it quite finished before this meeting, so I wanted to let y'all know where I was on that because I had said I would do it. So. Yeah, the next thing on the agenda is the city workflow. So this is why I had Tammy make a copy of the workflow. I want us to work through this. I think this is going to be, in my opinion, is important for us to know the flow and who reports to who and what for whatever positions we've got. We talked about several positions at the last meeting, including eliminating the assistant city administrator, possibly adding human resources, that kind of thing.
So we talked about some of those things, but that wasn't agreed upon.
Correct.
Okay.
You are correct
Okay.
in that. We discussed it. There was no
Yes.
decisions made, so
Right.
that's why I brought it back on the agenda today so that we could talk about all this in depth.
So just for my clarification, this workflow has a big X through the developmental services director, assistant administrator.
Yeah.
Why is that?
Tammy Tammy provided me with the workflow. This was my copy this morning. She did not have one on
Gotcha.
hand, a photocopy for all of you guys. I put the X on there. That is my X because I was working through some stuff at home. So as of now, we do have that position open. The X is notates from my notes. So that's why you have it.
I just have a general, maybe comment. You know, when you do a charter, you want it to be in general terms. You don't want it to get so detailed as to tie the hands of the city. I don't think it's up to us to tell the city to hire a human resources director or assistant city manager. It's not what we're, I don't think, tasked to do. Normally, the offices that are in the charter are always the city council and the mayor. It's usually the city administrator or manager, whichever way we decide to go. It's usually the city clerk. And in most charters, that's pretty much it. You know, sometimes you have the city attorney in there, sometimes you don't. I've had it both ways.
Sometimes I've seen it with the treasurer and a few of the ones that Mark provided me, as well as a couple of others that I found online. So you are correct in that. I just wanted these on here because these are what were brought up in the meeting and discussed. Whether we do something, whether we bring it forward to the council, not necessarily something we have to add. So we can line it out. Does that make sense?
Can I follow up with Mel's comment?
Absolutely.
So when I saw the agenda yesterday or the day before with that, I did remember that we had talked at the end of the meeting about a couple of those things, but I was And I know that we talked about maybe looking at the org chart or workflow of things, but I was surprised that we were going to have it as a full discussion as much as you have here today. And I tend to agree with Mel that we can talk about it and we can certainly make some suggestions, but I don't know that that's the purview of our committee as a charter review committee.
I agree with you as well. Again, going back, and I'm going to defend myself here a little bit. Chris has not been able to assist, so what you see here is what I've put together and done, and Cindy and Tammy got it looked at and approved for us to do. So I'm kind of working on my own with this. So my apologies. I just kind of pulled what I had from notes of what we talked about. So we can eliminate whatever we don't want to discuss, move on, have a shorter meeting, go about our day, whatever we need to do. So.
Can I just say one thing?
Absolutely.
Kind of an overriding thing. We all know that the chaos that has ensued in this town is all based on one sentence in I forgot which one, the mayor.
It's in Mayor 2 point, whatever it is, yeah.
And I'm just afraid that if we get too in depth and we ask to change a ton of things, we're going to end up with nothing.
And you have made that point multiple times,
Yeah.
and I do agree with you.
I mean, we need to keep this simple, maybe just 2 things. We bunch it up with 9 things on a referendum. We're going to end up with nothing.
I think, to your point, you know, first off, I want to say I'm on board with following suit, that I don't think as a committee it's our responsibility to redefine positions, and, you know, I think we can, as a citizen, we can bring to the council that maybe, you know, we stand up at a meeting and say, it's my opinion that the accountant should report directly to the council and not to the city manager. We can make those recommendations. As a citizen, as members of this committee, I don't think that's under our scope right now. I mean, so I agree with what you're saying. To follow up, though, and I would have an honest debate with you about what's going on in the city, is it's a little deeper than just the one sentence. I think what's kind of open-ended and what we've witnessed from the entire council, 2 or 3 may be more responsible than others, but I'm a member of this committee, I'm on P&Z, and we sit and we have candid discussion as humans. I think Robert's rules need to be enforced. I think we need a parliamentarian at those meetings to prevent outbursts from both the community and the council. You've witnessed what we've all witnessed, and there's no one person just solely responsible for that. Now.
Well, there should be, and it's the mayor when she runs the meeting.
Well,
how the meeting flows.
And look, we'll forget about personalities, but
And I'm not saying anything bad about anybody. I'm just saying that.
But when the gavel is,
Not the mayor.
she's the
But
chairperson.
thanks for pointing at me.
I'm just pointing at
Personalities aside, if there were a gavel there and she says, you know, boom, we should all be respectful of the chairperson's position.
True.
Okay. So I don't know, and this is not a charter issue.
I don't think the charter is going to solve that problem.
Well, true, but the mayor in the charter is not defined as the parliamentarian. The mayor is defined as the chairperson of the council.
Well, and
Well, the parliamentarian would probably be me in most settings. You know, the way it has gone, I'm not allowed really to say much.
Okay.
may I speak at this point?
I mean, for this community, that's the main thing I want to fix, is 20 years from now, if I'm out there in the ocean or buried somewhere, I'd like to think the community is
We
functioning.
need to leave this thing, this whole, the charter review committee and the referendum, everything. When we're done with it, the mayor's duties and responsibilities need to be defined so everybody knows where everybody stands. Now
It's not just the mayor, in my opinion, it's also, we need to clarify council members. We're adding the city administrator, so we need to clarify that
See,
position.
that's why I would refer to Mel with what he said earlier. the city council should be in charge of like stating what the city administrator's duties and responsibilities
But if
are.
we're putting it in the charter as the review committee, and I'm actually working on, adding it to the charter, we have to have some outline as to what.
I think you're getting into the weed. I'm just saying, I'm just giving my opinion. You guys are obviously the committee, you can do whatever you want.
Well-
Just don't want to get into the weeds too much.
No, I don't want to get in the weeds too much either, but we have to have discussion at some point too. So. Anyway, Mark, yes.
A couple things I want to follow up on the city attorney. Remember, whatever you end up doing, your ballot questions are limited to 15 words. Your ballot summary is limited to 75.
Oh, thanks for throwing that in there now. At
glad
this
you know
point in
that.
the game. At this point in the game.
He's going to have a challenge crafting whatever you come up with to fit within those parameters.
Okay.
If you get beyond
Well,
two,
we know
how
that. I
people
know that
get
from the
checked out.
beginning.
I know how I do when I vote on our constitutional amendments. There's like 7 of them. People start checking out.
Be cautious of the number of ballot questions that you're going to have. You'll have ballot fatigue if you don't.
That's a good point.
Okay.
Okay, well, that said then, since we're just having discussion, it's unanimous, that sentence should be obviously removed.
And I have it removed. I do have it removed in the current.
I think we're all,
Additional.
that's a
Maybe-
consensus.
Maybe an alternative, remove that sentence, and then an alternative, okay, if you want the mayor to have more power, spell it out,
Well, okay, so that goes back to what I started with, is that I was trying to come up with, when I'm working, typing and doing the revisions, we talked about the mayor. We wanted to be more specific in their duties. The council member, that was brought up to review and see if we wanted to make any changes. So in my mind, the way I work, I needed to see and know who was what and where and how it flowed in order to. I also got the job description, which I think we all have at some point, of the city administrator. And I was trying to pull some of this out of here. So I'm not trying to tell the city what to do or any of that kind of stuff. I'm trying to come up with how we need to. I've looked at some of what Mark's has provided in other charters for verbiage. I looked at Haverhill, Florida's, and I looked at, hold on, I've got
Key column.
Key Colony, yes. Those were the 2 ones that I looked at to see how.
Well, every little change we make doesn't have to be within those 1575 words.
Correct.
So it's just, the language that our attorney will craft will simply refer to the charter as proposed. So that's how we've done it in other places that I've been.
Okay. So then I don't need to stress so much over what I'm doing then. That takes a lot off my plate, thanks. I'll just hand it all over to him.
Well, I think that's probably a good point. At this point,
Mhm.
I thought this meeting was, since you weren't at the last meeting, right?
I think I was.
Yeah, he was.
No, he
he
was
wasn't.
No,
It was, I think it was.
you couldn't be here, but I thought the discussion was for us to kind of generically talk about what we wanted him to craft. And to Mr. Ryan's point, let's keep it as simple as we can, because of all the meetings I've been to, the key point was the one sentence. And which, if you ultimately remove that and the mayor remains the chairperson of the council, which I think we all agree on, and then the mayor also retains, the council representative that signs contracts, and in the mayor's absence, the mayor pro tem would then. So I think all that fits, and it's already in there without that one sentence that says what we don't want it to say.
The mayor shall be the chief
And if you guys
election
decide you
administrator.
want it
Yeah.
If you want it to say the opposite, we just need to define what those CEO and fiscal elected officer, what those terms mean.
And I
Because that's
think-
the problem that we have right now.
And I
It just
think-
says it in there, but it's not really defined what it is.
All the discussions, Jennifer, that we've had, the most discussion was had around that, around changing the charter to specify if multiple candidates run, one has to get 50% or there's a runoff.
I do have
I
that.
think
as-
that's just a question of American democracy.
And a 4-year term.
Well, and that was the other thing, before your term, and I had a lot of people say
And
they don't.
outside of that, the only other question was, do we specify in the charter the form of government? After we've had all that discussion about council manager versus weak mayor, you know. So those are the three things based on all my notes and everything that I reviewed last night
Yes.
that are the biggies.
They are, but okay, in point, you just mentioned if we're gonna take out these two things, then where does the financial responsibility fall? Who does it fall on? Does it fall on the director of finance? Does it fall on the?
Falls on the city
or-
council.
Falls on the council. The council will have equal responsibility for the financial and business operations of the city, with the manager, administrator reporting and managing day to day. They are like the board of
The
directors.
way it's been for many, many years.
We have been operating that way for quite some time, and I definitely see that now more being on the committee.
And from what I see, like every 10 years, you get a new mayor, and then that sentence, they think they should have, you know, what that sentence says, and we delve into chaos again. I think the city's gone through it numerous times.
And hopefully this can eliminate that.
That's,
Well, that's what we're hoping to do,
When
and that's
this-
one of our objectives.
when this is over, the mayor's duties and responsibilities need to be defined once and for all.
Okay?
So the town doesn't have an upheaval every 10 years.
I think that's a good goal, a good place to start, but general question. I think the intent is to turn this over to the council the first part of November.
Yes, so I need to send over Clint all of the, everybody, the notes where everything has been lined out, struck out, and just send that copy and not worry about trying to do one without them.
And when do we think this will be taken to referendum? Will be in the regular spring election?
That's what we're
That's what
hoping.
we're hoping for.
The reason I ask that is that
We start a workshop.
if we put in our proposed charter, go from a 2 to a 4-year term, the council members that will be elected in next April will still be under the 2-year term, but their charter will be in effect yet.
Correct.
Correct.
That's true.
So it wouldn't be until the next election.
I think it's probably, I think that's a,
We may go to the workshop.
I don't think that's gonna pass, to be honest.
But we may go to the workshop and the citizens go, no, we want to leave it, and we may have the majority of leaving it at 2 years. And at that point, I would assume, which we all know what that means, that we would leave it at 2 years and not make that one of the changes. I'm just using that as an example. I mean, if we go to the workshop, and which brings up another question, if we go to the workshop and we have a lot of citizens that go, no, we want that left in, what are we going to do at that point?
Well, you have to, that is a
The
decide.
city council's gonna have to take that into consideration when they make the
Correct.
decision.
That would
Okay.
be mine, right.
They have to take their constituents into account.
And we proved we can discuss and change our minds and not be mad at it, so
Exactly.
we'll be
Well,
fine.
that is true.
Yeah.
We have proven
Right.
that.
Madam Chair, if I could follow up, I provided a copy of a former city in Harbor Beach where they did the transition from a 3-year term to a 4-year term and a transition schedule that could be used as a model, change of course to 2 to 4, but use it as a model or template as you prepare for that question.
Okay. That would be something good to have in it.
Yeah, I provided it about a month ago.
I don't remember seeing that. Okay, so any more discussion then on those two, the workflow and the positions? Okay. So we need to come up with a workshop date, which we kind of discussed, but nothing was set in stone because it will need to be published. And I need to make sure that Clint gets he will get those revisions by the end of the weekend. I'll make it a point to finish those by the end of the weekend. So next week, first of the week, he'll have them to get started on.
So at the last meeting, we talked about the 26th as being a public workshop, is that correct?
We did.
That works for me. I don't know. you all have a
What day of the week is that?
Thursday.
It's Thursday.
Oh, well, that's fine.
Now, do we want it to be at
Lots of
evening
time
so
to
that
use that.
people that work can be there?
I think you should.
6 PM sound good to everybody?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, location, do we want to have it here, or do we think we're going to have a big enough crowd to need to do it somewhere
Let's
else?
have it here.
Make it simple?
This is where meetings are held, that's what most of the public is used to.
I agree. Okay. Any other comments or just, yes, sir?
Do you desire me to be present for your workshop?
I think that should be a group question.
I don't think so. It's your
It's
time.
your call.
I think we'd be okay. I mean,
We have your number.
I'm okay staying home.
we could put you on speed dial if we need you that day.
Well, then that means, I think our tentative schedule was meet today, meet next Thursday to go over the wording. Put him under a lot of gun, give him.
I'll try to get it to you tomorrow, actually.
I mean,
I'm
Giving him
finished.
3 days to prepare is not a lot of
I'm
time.
going out of town tomorrow, we'll be back to Monday afternoon, so take your time.
Okay. Okay, good. I'll take that. I'll give it to you by Sunday.
And I'll do whatever I gotta do to get it done.
I mean, it shouldn't be,
It's not.
It
It's,
really shouldn't be.
But if it has to push back a week, what does that do?
the workshop.
Because the council doesn't meet until the 14th of November.
That's true, we could do it the week before the council meeting.
So if
Big
it has,
workshop.
That might be good,
if it has to be
actually.
pushed back, I don't want
I'd rather give him more time.
more time.
Okay. I'm game for that.
And actually, that may mean
We don't have to have a meeting
next week. We can meet on the 26th as a group to look at it, and then before the workshop.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Then meet the next, on the 2nd. You know, that gives him until the 26th to get it.
Right.
That's perfect.
All right. So next meeting is going to be 10/26.
So that's just our regular meeting,
Our
and then November
committee
2nd
meeting.
is the workshop,
November
Right.
2nd will
On
be
the
the workshop.
26th, we would like to look at,
what I got written up.
Okay.
right.
Okay, I'm sorry, the workshop is when?
November
November
2nd
2nd.
at 6 p.m.
Do we have any other city meetings in the evening on that Thursday, Tammy?
No, we just had planning and zoning on the 6th.
Oh, okay.
6. So November the 2nd will be the workshop.
So what I had found so far when I was doing all of the strikeouts and the reviews on everything was remove that sentence, the changing of the voting, adding in a city administrator into the charter. That was one of the other things that I had noted. And like the rest of it's a lot of, small little things that aren't they're not the big things. Just, yeah.
50% plus one and a 4-year term.
That was already that's in the corrections, and the rest of it's pretty straightforward. There's a lot of no change areas to it. so.
How do we truly all feel about a 4-year term? I mean, Glenn, how do you feel about it?
I think it should be a 2-year term.
I don't recall us, did we vote on that?
Well, even if we did, I didn't have any strong feelings towards it either way.
I just don't think it's
ever gonna
That was
pass.
one of those that the group wants it, I'm okay, but I don't.
I mean, if we like having elections, and a lot of people, I've talked to a lot of individual citizens, and a lot of people, not just based on our town, city government, but state and federal level, they say, look, if somebody's going sideways, I want the ability to vote them out.
That's what I've heard.
That's what I've
In my
heard too.
neighborhoods.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've heard the same.
Yeah, I just don't see it passing.
Yeah, so if as a committee, we feel like I think we ought to give
It's one less thing.
we ought to give the public a chance to get their input on it, but I've not heard anything to support 4-year.
You put it in there and see what the people say.
That's
When
what
we
the
have
workshop's for,
workshop,
right? Yeah, just for us to kind of get their feedback and
I don't think it's gonna be good.
And then I'm going to ask Mel and Mr. Ryan. Personally, I really support the council manager form of government. I think that
That's practically how we're working, operating anyway now.
But to put that in writing, I'm gonna ask you, after they give their input, how do we transition from what our charter says to that?
I think what you're doing as a committee, if you choose to do so, is to memorialize what you're already doing into the charter. And that can be done in a few sentences or paragraphs.
That's really what we're doing at this point. Our government's already operating in that way.
Right.
We're just clarifying those things.
And trying to safeguard from city council interference with the day-to-day operations of the city.
Correct. Because it's not just one person that is doing that. So Quinn, when we were meeting at one point in time, you actually when we did our vote, our hand raised vote, you had said that you really like to try to, the mayor council, I think is what you, the mayor council, do you still feel that way?
I do. And my point of reference is after the storm. And I don't want someone that the people didn't elect to have power. And I feel as if that is a possibility with that terminology.
Now, in answer to that, I agree 100%. But in times of emergency, the mayor is the person that takes care of that stuff. Even in
It's actually in the way
It's
that
in
it
the
is.
charter that way.
Like in times of emergency, the
Martial
governor
law.
talks to the mayor.
Right.
Our mayor is the point person
Exactly.
that deals with other agencies.
And I wasn't here
Any
after.
of us want to change that.
No, but we want to make sure that, obviously the perception was that that wasn't the case, and so we just want to, then again, perceptions are.
They're fickle sometimes.
They are, that's a great word, I like that word. Yeah. Okay. So any other discussion? We have, only public person here is Mr. Mark, he's a citizen pro. So, any other discussion then about anything? So our next meeting will be on October the 26th for all of us. I will be emailing Clint. I had your name, I'm writing at the same time. Sometimes I can't chew gum and walk at the same time. I will email Clint the changes for the charter. Next meeting, October 26th here. November 2nd is the workshop, 6 p.m. here.
So we're not meeting on the 9th.
No, sir.
Okay.
26th and then November the 2nd. We have stayed very fluid with our meetings.
So are you gonna have, what about after the workshop?
What about after the workshop?
Are you gonna have a follow-up?
Yes.
Oh, I guess we do need to set a follow-up meeting, which
They
would,
need to retool.
yeah.
Just to give our put it together, final thing to give to the council.
So they're meeting on Tuesday, we're doing that on Thursday,
But they're not meeting till, what'd you say, Tammy?
the 14th. He said the
So we would
14th.
have a week in
The next
between.
Thursday, so the next Thursday would be the 9th of November?
That'd be our final meeting, and then get it,
Done.
button it up, and
Well-
hand it to the council, right? After this November 9th meeting?
Yeah, November 9th would be the
Final review.
final review before the council.
And then I guess the way it would be, was it just be, then the council vote and tell me which ones of the things that they want to take. And then I gotta go put it in ordinance form. Because we do it by, they adopt an ordinance saying that they want this on the referendum.
Okay. And then once it goes on the referendum, if approved, then that becomes, quote, the new charter.
Correct, we'd have to make those changes, and then we have to submit it to, I believe, the Secretary of State's office to have it on record, and it'd be official.
Okay.
But what the council votes on is an actual ordinance.
Gotcha, okay.
And the ordinance says these items are gonna be on the ballot.
Correct.
Okay.
And I think
So
in
we
Port St. Joe, we had
decided
two
that since
things.
we're
We
meeting here,
did
then the 14th, the council.
two separate ordinances,
if
I'm not mistaken.
Workshops.
We'll
We meeting then
do
too?
it
Yes,
the
next meeting,
easiest way.
workshop, and then our final review before it goes to council. And then 14th, committee council. Cool. Okay, any other thoughts, suggestions? And again, I will apologize for the
You're thorough.
throwing everybody,
No.
the outline
No
and just
apologies.
throwing it out there.
Just wanna- I just wanna-
It's how I'm working through things, so I'm just kind of
Just want to make sure the times. Workshops, the only thing is going to be at night. Our other meetings will be in the
all
morning, just like
standard,
they.
yes, sir, yes, sir.
Okay, and I'm gonna confirm too, just wanna make sure.
No, no,
Okay, so we'll have the workshop on November the 2nd at 6.
correct,
And you guys will come back for a final review on November the 9th.
correct. And we have our,
And so, are you wanting to put these ordinances on the 14th meeting?
Not the ordinances themselves, just our basic recommendation go to, this is my understanding. Our recommendations go to the council on their November 14th meeting. They vote, they tell me what we're gonna do, and I'll
Then
go
you
put
put
it
it
in
in
ordinance
ordinance.
form.
Okay.
And it'll be on our the next
The
council meeting
28th.
will be the first reading. And I think our deadline to get this to the.
It's February.
Is
It's
February, so
Yeah.
we're in good shape, yeah. I'm surprised we've done so well, how quickly.
I like efficiency.
Yeah, I thought we were gonna be really up against it this time, but we're doing really well.
I think we're all doing our homework before we come to the meeting, so we've all got, a little bit of clarity in our own minds and our thoughts in order. I think that's very helpful, so. One question I do have though, presenting it to the council or giving it to the council, you're gonna take care of that, right, Clint? Or if we as a pro tem chair,
We're gonna,
I just wanna figure out how to do so I can make sure.
this
I've
is
got my-
my understanding of it. We have our next meeting's on 10/26. I'm gonna have it preliminarily written up.
Okay,
Then we're gonna have a workshop.
right,
We're gonna get the input from everybody in town.
got it.
And then on the 9th, we get together and we finalize and put together what our recommendation to the council's gonna be.
Okay.
Not necessarily, it just needs to be what they are.
Gotcha.
And then the council's gonna see it on their meeting on the 14th. They're gonna vote which ones, if any, they want to put on referendum. And they'll tell me which ones, and I'll write up the ordinances.
Got it, okay.
We'll go from there.
Okay,
And I think it's important that all of us attend that,
Oh,
in
yeah.
case
yes,
For sure.
it's Q&A, right?
So ultimately, just based on our discussion, I don't think we're looking at maybe 3 ballot items, right?
Yeah, kind of. I
Pretty
don't know. We'll
much.
see what she
That's
sends
our goal,
me.
yeah, that's about what
That's-
it's at.
Simple.
I think that's fine. I wouldn't want to get much more than that.
And they shouldn't be very complex, right?
No, they shouldn't.
It's-
I mean, even in legal language, it shouldn't be.
It's take out the sentence, the 50% plus one, and adding the city administrator to the charter. Those are the three biggies.
Yeah.
Pretty.
Probably have the city clerk too,
It's already in there.
Sorry, well, adjust the language to what we feel is appropriate, or just
I
leave it as is? and not-
no, there were some changes that was before, there were some changes.
There were some minors where,
Yeah.
was it section 6, where there was a duplicate, basically, the article said,
I think so.
there,
Well, and there were a lot of things, obviously this charter's, 40 years old.
right, right.
And like,
It was
we
just
wanted to
some
add
language.
like on the lines here and that one of those last
right.
sections.
Yeah,
Uh,
and I don't have that, I don't have the
That's
markup in here.
Nonpartisan.
Yeah, and
Single question.
the question I had here, and I don't know if you were here for this, but the comment was, and it was on standard of ethics, and something Clint was supposed to research.
I think she sent me a question
And a
about.
question about purchasing and competitive bids, and, I mean, I don't know why.
I don't think
that
I've gotten to that part of the note, my notes, getting my notes, because
Okay.
since I took over from Tim, I was letting Tim be our person that was doing that, and so now I've kind of gone in and gone, okay, where are my notes compared to his, and did I miss anybody's, and that's
Right.
something I was trying to make sure.
And that could be final review, those little things.
Yeah, so if I do miss things, I hope y'all won't like
On the-
fire me as an administrator.
A process question that I heard two different ways, both ways today. So here's what I heard. I don't hear Will, so I don't process sometimes myself, so if I'm wrong. I first heard that we would look at what we talked about as a group, you provide to Clint. Clint's gonna bring it to us. We say, yes, that's what we collectively talked about and agreed upon to move forward. That information would then be presented at a public forum. We would, after the public forum, we would move it to the council.
We got one more meeting in between the workshop.
We at that next meeting, we would discuss it, move it to the council.
And formalize it.
The two things that I heard that were different, one was, what if there was opposition to one of the items? Do we take that as, here's what the comments were during the public meeting and share that with the council? Or do we incorporate that into the actual?
I think it's up to this committee.
Well, that's what I said. I heard two different things. That's why
If you think that there was so much against it from the community and you want to take it out, take it out. If you don't.
That's where our final review on the 9th would be.
That's what the final review is for, I think. Because I'm certainly not going to go against what 90% of the city wants.
so.
I think it's our job to.
I would agree with you saying about 90% of the city, but I don't know that 90% of the city is going to show up and sit in those 25 seats.
But you know what, if 90% of the feedback we get from the group that does show up says, Josh, I just don't support 4-year terms or this or that, I think as a committee, we're all educated enough to say, that's not what they want. And
It's up to each individual, one of you guys.
And then we can debate it after the fact. But
In my opinion, it's the same as if you don't like it, vote against it. You know, you don't get to complain if you don't vote.
right.
So
That's a good
show up
That
and
too, yeah.
put your 2 cents in.
I don't think a lot. I mean, you're always going to have people that disagree, but I don't think what we're going to present to the group of citizens is controversial at all.
I agree with you.
I mean, it's not.
Again, I was just trying to understand the process.
And for the record, I think it is monumental for our future. So I applaud all of us for taking part in it.
Absolutely. And the discussions have been wonderful, so I have to say.
Me too.
And I have learned so much through this process personally about all of this that, you know.
You're never leaving? You're never going to do this in another city?
If all goes to what I planned, this will be the last city I ever live in. Anyway, so, is there anything else that needs to be brought to the table or discussed? May I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second?
Cool.
Adjourn. Thank you.
Thank you guys.